Good morning. This is lesson 126 for Bible. I'm sorry, lesson 146 for Bible. You can imagine how the word spread around the country that Jesus had risen from the dead. In homes, in the marketplaces, and gatherings of all kinds among old and young, it was everybody's talk. We can just imagine some of the things that were said. Why, that's impossible, some said. Too many people saw him hanging on the cross and saw him bleed, saw his dead body in the tomb. He can't be alive. I believe it's true, said another. There are too many proofs. And so the discussions and arguments continued, getting more and more heated. The disciples remembered that Jesus had told them that he would meet them in Galilee. So 7 of them walked to Galilee together. They longed to see Jesus because he had lived with them for 3½ years. But they were sure now that he was alive again. They were looking forward to seeing the living Lord in Galilee. They came to the Sea of Galilee. It was so good to be home once more. One evening when they were together on the shore of the lake, Peter said, "I'm going fishing." "We'll come too," they all said. So they piled their nets into the bottom of the boat and pushed out into the deep water where they thought the fishing would be good. Nighttime was a good time for fishing since it was very dark. Several times they threw out their nets, probably into their favorite spot, and hauled the nets back in again, but still they caught no fish. Now, if a fisherman goes fishing and doesn't catch any fish, after a while he will move to another spot. Again and again they cast the nets overboard, hauled them in, and dumped them into the bottom of the boat, but the nets were empty each time. When those big fishing nets got wet, they were extremely heavy and hard to handle. It was back-breaking work. The disciples probably needed the money a good load of fish would have brought them, but after fishing all night long they had caught nothing. Morning came and they did not have a single fish. Bone-tired, hungry, and discouraged, the disciples decided they might as well go into shore. They had worked all night and caught nothing. As they neared the beach at dawn, they saw a man standing on the shore, but they couldn't see who he was. He called, "Children, did you catch any fish?" "No," they called back. "Throw out your net on the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get plenty of fish," the man on shore said. So they did. In fact, they couldn't pull in the net because they had so many fish in the net. What a miracle! At once John recognized that the man standing on the shore was Jesus, and that he had given them the wonderful catch of fish. He excitedly said to Peter, "It is the Lord!" Jesus had come to help them. Peter took one look at Jesus, jumped into the water, and swam ashore. The rest of the disciples stayed in the boat and continued to struggle with a great catch of fish until they finally dragged the loaded net of fish ashore. I'd like to see this big group of fish. Look at all that fish. When they got to shore, they all crowded around Jesus. This time when they saw him, they did not ask who he was, for they knew it was the Lord. To see him was more thrilling than the big catch of fish. They smelled something that made their mouths water. On a fire, Jesus had prepared a delicious breakfast of fish and bread. "Bring some of the fish you've just caught too," said Jesus. So Peter went out and pulled the net further ashore. It was filled with 153 big fish, and the net hadn't torn. That itself was a miracle. "Now come and have some breakfast," Jesus said, and he served them the bread and fish. This was the 3rd time Jesus had appeared to his disciples since he had risen from the dead. What a happy occasion it was to have breakfast on the seashore with the risen Lord.